Every time I meet people who knew me 5-6 years ago, people who I haven't met in a while, a lot of them are very surprised at how my life has turned out, how I've been able to apparently make it in life, how I've actually been able to amass quite an amount of wealth or quite an amount of things. I know some people call it wealth. In front of some people it's not a lot of wealth, but well, for a lot of people it's still a surprise. A lot of people are still surprised at how famous I've been able to become, and all the things that I've been able to accomplish, having and running a farm, and all the influence that I have on the internet and all these kinds of things. And I understand that a lot of people are surprised by that, but I personally am not surprised. I'm completely not surprised, because I had plans for a lot of this stuff much earlier. I mean, when I was much younger. Now, of course, I didn't know that I was going to start or run a farm. And of course, never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that I was going to become famous. I mean, I'll tell you guys, of course I'm not famous like let's say top politicians or things like that, but I'll tell you something interesting. Every time I'm moving, I can't call my life private, yeah? I mean, whether I'm inside a bank or attending a burial or inside a public transport, or I don't know, at least in my country, people do recognize me in all the farthest places of the country. And it's quite interesting, because that's just only in Uganda, and there are some other countries where I even have more viewership than in Uganda. So I think to myself, for example, in Kenya, I think I have more than 2 times more viewers in Kenya than I do have in Uganda, despite the fact that, I've never really been to Kenya. Yeah, I've only gone through Kenya in transit, but I've never moved on the streets in Kenya or something like that. So I would imagine I would even be stopped more often in Kenya than I am in Uganda. So never did I ever imagine that I would be this famous or this popular with people. But I knew that there are things that I wanted to accomplish. Yeah, I knew that I needed to work towards particular things. I knew that there are goals that I wanted to accomplish. I knew that I wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to make this amount of money and all those kinds of things. And so in today's video, I just want to, share tips and encouragement to a lot of young people and youths outside there on how you can actually make it great, on how you can actually become accomplished, on how you can actually get results in your life, yeah? Because I want to be honest with you. A lot of us, like I've told you guys earlier on when I was young, I wanted to get wealth. And all of us, when we are young, we have these imaginations and thoughts of, I want to be wealthy, I want to own a lot of stuff, I want to start a business that's successful, I want to be a doctor, a successful doctor, or whatever that you want to become. The difference, though, is that some people actually go ahead to accomplish it and some people don't. But even those who don't, I mean, you'll find someone, they're 25, they're 30. I mean, still at 30, people still have a lot of hope and a lot of belief that they're actually going to be able to accomplish stuff and get great results. But I mean, a lot of them still don't. And before you know it, they're 40, 45, 50 and things like that. And just like that, the dream has ended. All the desire that they did have actually ended. And what's the major differentiator between the people who actually accomplish these dreams and those who don't? Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. Most people have what we call fantasy dreams. Yeah, we call them fantasy dreams. Until a lot of people actually do die, a lot of them still have these hopes or hope that they can actually still accomplish particular things. But in reality, when you look at their life and you see what they are doing, you can tell that they're never going to accomplish those things. Yeah, so how do you actually straighten or align your life to the point where you can at least be certain that you're going to accomplish the dreams, yeah, that you do have? How do you get yourself to actually, get fulfilled and accomplished? That's what I'm going to be sharing with you in a little bit more detail in this video. So first thing that I want to tell you is that, guys, you have to be intentional. You can't just be like, sera, whatever will be, will be. I personally have a lot of, I would say, conversations and discussions with a lot of young people who, have this mentality of, if I'm to be rich, I'll be rich. I'm like, what do you mean? Those people who believe that if it's your day to die, then you'll die. If it's not your day to die, you won't die. What they're trying to say is that, I mean, we're not responsible for whatsoever happens in our lives, yeah? So the one thing that I believe all of us have to agree on is that for you to actually be accomplished, you have to be intentional about it, yeah? For you to have the great results, have the great farm that I do have right here, yeah? And again, I keep saying great farm, not to say that what I do have is so much, but the context I use is, where I started from. Yeah, I mean, 5-6 years ago, I didn't have a single piece of land. I was building my very first chicken house on my dad's piece of land. I just graduated as a doctor. And now you'll stand out and be like, well, doctor, you know, you're lucky that you graduated as a doctor. You know, you at least graduated as a doctor. Yeah, I graduated as a doctor, but even I had to put in effort to graduate as a doctor. I didn't just wake up and I was a doctor. The kind of family that I grew in was, well, not average, certainly way below average. My tuition for secondary school was paid for by a good Samaritan. My tuition for university was paid for by the government. And if not for, you know, those people actually paying, my parents would never have afforded to do that. So I actually had to put in the effort to make sure that I get good grades and then go to medical school and actually study as a doctor and graduate. And after graduating as a doctor, I worked as a doctor for, you know, 2.5 years, something like that, for me to be able to, you know, get money that I can invest into the farm. Yeah. So it wasn't like roses and, you know, nice life and growing up in cool things. Yeah. It was about being intentional, about putting in the effort, yeah, right from the beginning. So I don't believe in this thought that a lot of young people actually do have these days, that whatsoever will be, que sera, sera. I believe that that's the wrong perception for life. Yeah, you have to be intentional. The thing you need to understand is that a lot of hard work goes into it. I believe in God and I believe in the blessing of the Almighty, but I have a big problem when you meet a lot of people and they're like, you know, Dr. Daniel, you're blessed. If for you, you're successful because you're blessed. And I'm thinking in my head, does that mean that you're not blessed? Does that mean that God has chosen to bless me and not bless you? Yeah, I mean, what an impartial God that would be. And I believe God is not impartial. I believe, you know, he loves and cares for all of us. So then what's the difference? It's because one of the main differences is that a lot of people just don't put in the effort and the hard work that they're supposed to be putting in order for them to accomplish things. Yeah, you're not going to, I mean, wake up and play video games each and every day and expect to have results. Yeah, I always tell people I don't even have a single game on my phone. No, I actually do have maybe 2 games installed on my phone, but by my daughter. Yeah, so I mean, when I'm around her and once in a while, and I mean, they're really bored and maybe their devices are off or something like that, they can use my phone to play a game. But I mean, for years, from the time I left university, I never ever play a game on the phone. It's not that I'm being too serious, because people will be like, well, Dr. Daniel, you're taking life too seriously, whatsoever, la, 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 all those kinds of things. Yeah, probably I'm taking life too seriously. But then the difference is you want to have the farm, you want to have the nice house, you want to have the nice, beautiful car, you want to have all those nice things. But you don't want to do the things that people who have those things do. You understand? So I, for example, Dr. Daniel, don't spend a lot of time going out with friends, going for parties, you know, doing all those kinds of things. I spend a lot of time reading, focusing, you know, sitting down, making plans. Currently, we are building a new chicken house, you know, on the side, the other side. Yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff happening right now. This is alfalfa. Yeah, so currently we're also weeding alfalfa for the goats. So I have a goat farm somewhere that's expanding and growing. I'm doing a lot of stuff happening. Earlier on, when I just started my YouTube channel, I would, you know, get up, record YouTube videos, edit them myself, work on thumbnails, put them on YouTube, try to, you know, post them on different social media handles so that, you know, they can get outside there so that people get to know about them. And then I was still working as a doctor, work Monday to Friday as a doctor. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I was on the farm and all those kinds of things. Then I was working on YouTube videos and things like that. I barely had any time off, yeah? And then after 5-6 years, I mean, you can see everything that's happening around, and this is all I have. But then, there you are. You also want to have the same exact results that I'm having, but while you're also playing video games every weekend or the whole weekend, going late to work and all those kinds of things. No, it's certainly not possible, yeah? You have to be intentional, yeah? You have to put in the effort and the work that matches the results that you do have, yeah? So then, if you say that, hey, Dr. Daniel, then it's, you know, what you're talking about is too much, and you need to be able to have a good life and chill and relax and, you know, go to the parties, go to the beaches and all those kinds of things. I'm like, okay, it's cool. Yeah, you can have those things, but then don't desire what I have, or don't desire the accomplishments that the people who actually sacrifice and do other things actually do have. If you do desire them, then you can't live an average life. What I'm trying to say is that you can't live an average life and then expect spectacular results. If you live an average life, you're going to have average results, plain and simple. Yeah, so that's the first tip, the first thing that I'm talking to young people outside there. Yeah, you need to be intentional, and you can't expect to be average and do average things and then get great results. The second thing is that you're going to have to ignore a lot of noise outside there. Yeah, you're going to have to ignore a lot of noise, because I'll be honest with you, like I've already told you, most people are average. Yeah, that's the honest truth. Most people are average, and I mean, the definition for average, I feel like, keeps getting worse with every passing age. If, for example, you are in a classroom that has really brilliant students, then let's say an average student in that class would probably get an 80% in the examination. But then if you move to a worse class with worse students, then maybe an average would probably be like 40%. Yeah? So the definition for average changes based on the population that you're living in. And I honestly feel like with every passing year, average actually gets worse. It doesn't get better, it actually gets worse. Yeah. Now, of course, the economy develops and all those kinds of things. And the main reason there's actually a lot of growth is because the people who are at the very top are actually putting more effort. So the people who are intelligent actually become more intelligent. It's just that they become fewer. Yeah. So those at the extreme end are actually responsible for like the biggest percentage of development. So you'll probably find like only 1% of the world right now is responsible for like the biggest development that's happening. Unlike in the past, where we probably had like, maybe 10-15% of like the people being responsible for the greatest development. That percentage keeps getting lower. Why? Because now we're having too many dense people, too many unfocused people, too many distracted people. Yeah, too many people who are not interested, too many people who are entitled in this world. Yeah, and because of that, if you're one of those people who want to stand out and be different, what's going to happen is that you're going to be pulled down a lot. You're going to meet a lot of negativity. You're going to meet a lot of people who are not willing to work hard, who are not willing to focus, who are just willing to pull you down, who are willing to oppose everything that you do. Yeah, I mean, I do remember when I was still, practicing as a doctor. I mean, I wasn't doing badly, but I wasn't doing perfectly. Yeah, so I came out and decided that, hey, I'm going to start farming, and I'm going to choose to farm and all those kinds of things. And so I decided to quit my job as a doctor and then decided to focus on farming. You guys can see the other chicken house that we are building. Yeah, this is the 5th chicken house on this farm with the capacity of 2,500 birds. You can see it again. Yeah, so when I decided to move out and do stuff like this, a lot of people thought that it was a terrible idea. They're like, hey, I mean, you're a doctor. And I mean, I still get that up to now. They're like, hey, you're a doctor. How do you, move out from being a doctor and you start doing stuff like this, looking after chickens and, doing stuff like this? Why? Why are you wasting your time? Why don't you do better stuff? That's what people will always say. Yeah. So you're going to meet a lot of negative people who think that what you're doing is actually a terrible idea. And I'll be honest with you, it's not because people think it's a terrible idea, no. It's because they feel like you're stepping out of the status quo. You're becoming different from them, yeah? People want you to remain at the same level with them. It's like a subconscious thing in people's minds, yeah? That's what people want, yeah? They want you to remain at the same level with them. So if you come out and, step out and you start being different and acting different, they feel like you're going to leave them behind, and so they'll start antagonizing you. So you've got to sieve out the noise, sieve out all that negativity that people are going to bring, and that's going to be the second thing that you're going to be doing for you to get to the very top. And then third, or finally, it's about self-control. Now this, you might think, is probably related to the first one, but it's quite different, yeah? Because self-control is tested when you become a bit overaccomplished. So initially, when you're starting out, of course, things are going to be different. And really, of course, you're going to need self-control, but I mean, it's going to be tested way, way more when you start getting a bit of accomplishment and development. Yeah. Let me give you a quick example. If, for example, I do get married and then I'm sent out to go work. Let's say I'm sent out to go and work in a desert country somewhere where we're only men working in hot environment. We have to struggle to get food and things like that. It's difficult to say that my faithfulness to my wife is being tested in that circumstance or in such circumstances, because there's nothing to tempt me. Yeah. So really, in those circumstances, there's not faithfulness being tested. Yeah. You know how faithfulness will be tested? I get married to my wife and then I decide to go and work in a nightclub, a stripping club, where you're consistently seeing girls who are half naked and things like that. Then there you know that your faithfulness is going to be tested properly. Same exact thing, yeah? When it does come to, you know, growth and development as a farmer or as a young guy, initially when you're starting out, that's not going to be tested. But once you're getting money coming in, once you start getting, you know, a bit of things coming in, it's going to be properly tested. Because when you do have money around, then your discipline is going to be tested in a lot of things, especially financially, yeah? Because then you're going to have some money coming in and then you feel like, you know, you want to start going on holidays every month or going wherever. Then you're going to feel like you want to buy all the fancy and nice and beautiful cars. That's the stuff you're going to feel like. Then you're going to feel like, you know, all the girls are attracted to you because of course they are when you do have money. So they're all attracted to you, and well, you can have all of them, so why not have them? So your self-control becomes tested in very many ways when you get accomplished. And I mean, this is when the real test for life begins. Yeah, that's when the real test for life begins. And that's what I want to tell you guys. Yeah, I mean, as you grow and as you start getting stuff getting in, then you need to even practice way more self-control. You need to practice way more commitment to yourself for you to be able to grow up. Because at the beginning, you might have the money coming in, but if you don't practice the self-control, it will only be a matter of time before you lose everything. Yeah, that's why you hear stories of people who, you know, at some point got stuff, but then they lost it all because they didn't develop this self-control. So you've got to develop self-control, you've got to develop discipline and push yourself to keep working hard. Yeah, initially when you're starting out and you have the money, you feel like you can work hard, but once the money comes in and a bit of the success, it's easy for you to go ahead of yourself and feel like, whoa, I think I'm now too famous, or I have all this kind of stuff and all these kinds of things, and then you forget about where you came from or what you want to be, and you'll just lose everything because you lose the discipline, you lose the focus, you lose the self-control. You've got to keep it going for you to actually make it to the very top. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. That way you never miss out on an upload. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.